Hello, my name is Jeff Gemiolo, and today I'm going to talk about rules that I live by. It's not inclusive, but it's enough. I decided to do something new, do a punch list of here's things I believe in and generally the reason why. I kind of got 10, but I think I got 11. So maybe you get a bonus. The first one I have is do unto others as you want them to do it unto you. The golden rule. What comes around goes around. It actually fits in the biblical side and the spiritual side at the same time. So if you want good things to happen to you, you got to do good things to other people. You want to do horrible things to other people, horrible things going to happen to you. This is going to cycle around more and more. 2, you're ultimately responsible to someone higher than yourself, whether it be God, the universe. Once you put that into context that you're responsible for something else, you are not the king, so to speak, of the universe. You just have to live it. You achieve your part in the universe. And your part in the universe is to be a good shepherd, I guess you could say. That's the purpose behind all of this, is that, hey, you need to learn to get along well with others. For some crazy reason, the more money you have, the more you think that you're better than everyone else, and you forget that there's someone higher than you. Rich people do it all the time. They think they can affect other people, whether it be emotions or physically. I guess the more money you have, the dumber you get, maybe. I don't know. Or the less spiritual you get. Anyway, number 3, all religions and theologies lead to the same place, to God, if you follow them the way they were intended. So that means regardless of whether you follow, you're a Muslim and you follow the Quran, oddly enough, as crazy as it sounds, in the Quran, it lists Jesus as a prophet, along with Muhammad. So really the question at hand is why over the years we have all these wars? My religion is better than your religion. They all point to the same place. It's just for some reason the humans on the ground, for territory purposes, want to make sure that they're divided. And the devil wants you divided too. So this is very interesting, but all paths lead to the same place. It's just whether or not this lifetime or the next. Just like I do believe that, well, I'll get to that in a minute. Number 4, to go to heaven, you need to be spiritual and religious. That being said, what it means, actually, what's really funny is if you read the Bible, Jesus went to the East to learn mysticism, which is spiritualism. So he learned spiritualism first, and then came religion. Oddly enough, the way it seems to be working right now, most, and especially with reincarnation and all, is more people have a problem with the structure. So they're religious first, and then afterwards they get spiritual. Next lifetime you'll get spiritual. Because what I have found is, on the spiritual side of the fence, it actually explains the Bible better than the Bible does. Because there's a lot of stuff that's just left hanging that, it's just the way it is. But when you get into the more spiritual stuff, it actually explains why the things are the way they are. There's not a single word about, the universal laws that even God has to listen to. God made them for that reason, so that everyone has to listen to him, even himself. But you think about it. But it said, to me, you need to be fairly well balanced. Myself, part of me is Christian, part of me is spiritual. That doesn't mean I can't listen to, monk music or chimes. I am affirmations. None of that's mutually exclusive. Anyone who tells you it is, they need to reevaluate their life. And generally, to be honest with you, that's the problem I have with most organized religions too. It's either my way or the highway. And the answer is, I don't belong to any of them, and I'm somehow still here. And I have some favor with God. So my purpose here is to tell you that you can do it without a single source. And I probably need to show you how. It's not hard. Anyway. Number 5. Energy can always be changed from negative to positive. And actually from positive to negative if you so choose. So anything that happens to you that's negative, you could always change it to a positive. It's the example of making, with sour lemons, making some lemonade. Just because something horrible happened to you doesn't mean you can't learn from it and be a better person. And I know the narcissists out there are screaming, but there's a lot of people out there who don't believe in any kind of positive thinking whatsoever, and they can't figure out why they're depressed all the time. I don't know why. But, as I said, energy is very interesting because when you start to learn to think differently and in your head change that energy from something negative to a positive, that's a very big state to be in. That one will help you throughout your entire life more than anything else that you can even dream of. Number 6, heaven and hell are relative to your perception. If I'm in a desert and I'm dying of thirst and I see a mirage, that could be heaven to me. It all really depends on what you really deem as heaven and hell. Not to say that there isn't one. There isn't a heaven, there isn't a hell. But we have a tendency to look at things in context that we believe them in. Example is I eat meat. So therefore, me being in hell would be me eating a pure vegetarian diet. And the same thing for a vegetarian eating a pure meat diet. That's like, oh, I'm in hell. Is it? It's all relative to your perception of it. Doesn't mean there isn't a place. There is. The Bible, I don't remember which book, and I don't think it's actually one of the actual canonized books of the Bible, but it actually does state that hell is away from God. Heaven is close to God. Food for thought. Are you getting closer to God or away from God? Number 7. You need to stop the past from creating a victim of you. A lot of people have a hard time with being a victim because they look at them and they think their past. Your past is dead. You can't do anything about it. It happened. Pay any consequences you need to pay and move on your merry way. Stop letting it affect you. The more you keep yourself in that victim mentality, you have a problem. You are making yourself a victim. It's not like someone else is doing it to you. You're doing it. I don't let other people make me a victim. Why should you? Don't. If you follow that logic of, I want to be a victim, you'll have a real hard life. But when you accept the fact of, I'm not a victim, but where do I move from here? How do I make my circumstance right now better from where I am? Not a victim. Bad stuff happened, but I'm not a victim. I might even cause some of this myself, but I'm not a victim. How do I move forward from where I am now? That is very important. Okay, number 8. The only constant in the world is change. You need to learn to go with the flow. And there's a saying in business, the only constant in business is change. Well, the whole life's that way. The Lord loves when you make all these nice and secure plans, bulletproof plans, because he loves blowing those things up. Why? Because you can't have a plan. The Lord is trying to teach everybody to live in the current, the now, not the future, not the past. People who live in the past have a tendency to keep repeating the past. People who live in the future have a tendency never to go there. They have a tendency never to go there because they're always planning there, but they're not living. Currently, I have a hard time with the now myself. So that's what the Lord is currently working with me on, about the now. If the Lord told you to rest, would you rest? How do you rest? I don't know. I've never done it in my entire 40, 50-year life. I've never rested, so I don't know. So. But the only constant in this world is change, so you need to learn to accept that and go with the flow more. To adapt, to learn to adapt, because a lot of people have a real hard time adapting. And that's where they develop a lot of dependencies, a lot of addictions, because they just can't cope. I go, well, you have to learn to either cope or let it go. Just you gotta do something. But as long as it continues to fester with you, you'll have a problem. So I just choose to accept it. Okay, well, there's not much I can do with it. Forever forward. Number 9, when given a choice, take the high road. It's not easy, but you learn more. Trust me, it's not an easy road, but you learn a lot about a lot of things, including a lot about yourself. You build strength that way, actually. So, I've learned to take the high road. Majority of the time, take the high road. Generally, the only time I don't take the high road is when I'm just tired. It's time to kick that defiance off and say, how about just this once? I want just a nice, easy vacation. Even if it's just sitting there with my feet in the pool. But sometimes that's what it is. You just have to... High road is a very interesting thing, because it builds character, builds strength, builds stamina. It could be the choices you make in your life. Did you choose to adopt a child when you were a single parent? When you were single, that's a rough one there. Did you? But usually you get rewarded, and usually in rewards you never really think about. Just throwing it out there for you. Number 10, be careful what you consume, because you are what you consume. Do you watch a lot of TV? Do you watch the news? News is almost 100% fear-based. Don't watch the news for 2 weeks. I'm sure the world's still going to be here in 2 weeks without you watching the news. Try to detox off the news for 2 weeks. You'll find out your attitude completely changes. What websites are you watching? Are you watching fear porn? Oh, no. Once I decided to stop, it's literally been almost 20 years since I've watched the news. About once a week, I'll jump onto a news site that I trust, get the news, one day's worth of news, and then try again next week. It's not like I'm against the news. It's just, if you watch too much negativity, it sinks in and you become a negative person. Very close to birds of a feather flock together. So be careful who's around you. So, you're the nice person among a bunch of evil people. That just means you're going to be evil soon. Just saying. It's not like you're going to change them. Just saying. Hence the reason why you need to stick around with your kind of thing. And it's not a racial thing. It's a philosophical thing. But be careful what you consume, because it does impact you in a lot. Whether it be food too, I like my food. And as a bonus, number 11 is, and actually my dog reminded me of this in a weird way, but always leave a relationship or situation in better shape than you found it. Many companies I've come in and it was a total shambles. My job. It was just dealing with chaos all the time. The one thing I made sure I always did was make that chaos into something more reasonable, so that the next person after me has a fighting shot. If it's a relationship with another human being, yes, I dated you, it didn't work out, okay, life sucks. But what did I help improve in your life? Oh, well, you learned how to budget your money. You learned how to. There's something you learned from me. There's no ego aside there. Just no ego. Just there's something that you have to have. Because I always like to live a relationship better than than I found it. The person example is the person I was dating actually was horrible with her finances. She never had to deal with her finances. You want to do those bills? Here you go. Take the bills. Here. And within a year, she learned how to budget and everything. Why? Because now she had the ability to do it. Because in her last relationship, she did not have the ability to do that, and it drove her insane. Because the guy never paid the bills, whatever. I pay my bills. There you go. Here's the money. Here's the bills. And it's very ironic because people look at that and they're like, well, how can you leave everything back? I do. It's just, I leave it in a better state than it was. Matter of fact, when that same girlfriend, we broke up, I went over and I took my computer, my network server with all our movies. I actually took, I think it was 3/4 of them, put them onto a new server and gave it to her. I made her another server for herself and said, here you go, take this with you. So now you have the movies that you had before. Now, if that's not above and beyond, I don't know what is. But at the same time, it's leave the situation better than it was. So those are some of the rules that I live by. They're not horribly complicated. People have a tendency to make life really complicated. It doesn't necessarily have to be. Do you believe there's something higher than yourself? Do you believe in God, universe, source? All in the same place. Well, I hope this helps you. Thank you. Bye.